Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to take a look at what World of Tanks Blitz posted this afternoon on their Instagram channel, aka a leak concerning the upcoming tier 10 tanks into the game, and specifically a new branch that is the Italian tank destroyers. So those are going to be the first tank destroyers from the Italian tech tree to be implemented. Of course, it's leaked with a video that we're going to take a look at right now. So first of all, let's analyze what Wargaming is saying about those. The next researchable vehicles are going to be Italian tank destroyers. So at least we're sure that the next step for the game, at least concerning the free-to-play content, will be those tanks. The 4 tanks that you see right there, and my apologies if there is the big triangle here, the play button, but I can't do anything else. We've just started the development of the new tech line containing 6 machines within the European nation. The tier 10 tank destroyer is going to be pretty efficient at first line thanks to its decent armor, and an auto-reloader gun will be a cherry on top. So basically the exact same mechanism as the one we have on the Progetto 65. The new tank destroyers are planned to be released later this year, and you can take a glance at the tier 7 to 10 vehicles right away. So tier 7, tier 8, tier 9, tier 10. But there are 6 vehicles, which means that we are still not seeing 2 other tanks. It's either going to be a tier 6, meaning that the branch will start off at tier 5 from the Italian tech tree, or it's going to be a tier 5 or tier 6 and a premium tank. And I'm pretty sure that Wargaming will cook a premium tank that we don't have any infos on right now. Now let's roll the video. For this, I need to put my screen with like as much down thing as possible. And there we see the tanks. We're gonna pause quickly when we can. Here, this one you see on screen is the tier 10. It's called the Minotauro, and for the moment, it has a long name, but we're just gonna call it Minotauro. And basically, it's just looking like a mix between a German tank for the turret and an American tank for the hull. Because when you take a closer look at it, and I'm sorry because the quality of the video is not that good, but basically it has the exact same hull as a T125. So is it going to be good or not? Depends. If it has the same ammo rack as the tank, it's probably not going to be the case because the lower plate of the hull means ammo rack. For the rest, it looks pretty rounded, pretty strong, but be careful about that because yes, Wargaming is telling you that it has a decent armor, but the reality behind it is that, well, maybe that with a gold shell or anything like that, you can go through the rounded part of the turret. So be aware of this. We will have to wait for Wargaming to implement it in order for us to know. For the rest, here we take a look at the tier 9, the thing you saw just before. And now, and probably what, in my opinion, is the most interesting, the tier 8. In terms of design, this thing looks straight out a steampunk game. It doesn't look historical at all. It doesn't look like something that was used in our reality, and just for that I love it. I don't know if it's going to be useful or not in battle, but the whole concept of the tank being, I don't know, it looks like a chimera and not the tank. I mean the real chimera in history. It's just so crazy how Wargaming managed to create those things. Now, of course, they have a big downside that we're going to talk later on when we will take a look at the statistics of the tier 10. But basically, for the rest of it, those tanks are all looking extremely good. They will obviously be rendered in HG as this is what Wargaming wants. And on top of that, you have a whole line for free. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, but even more after I tell you the statistics. Because yes, we do have access to the statistics thanks to the fact that those tanks are going to be implemented in both World of Tanks Blitz and World of Tanks PC at the same time. This is the first time in the history of both games that this happens, and it's probably for the best, simply because at least we do have access to some statistics. Of course, the statistics I'm about to talk about right now are the one we have in World of Tanks PC, and are subject to change because the tanks are still in testing. And obviously, in World of Tanks Blitz, the statistics are not the same as the one we have in World of Tanks Blitz. So the statistics you're going to see here in this video are going to be a little bit different, but we can still analyze analyze what awaits for us. Starting with the tier 5 of the branch that Wargaming did not show yet, but that we will have access to, aka the Semovente. I don't know what it means, but it's kind of a good looking tank if you ask me. Like, it looks beautiful. And the main advantage of that thing is that it's equipped with a 75mm howitzer. I'm gonna try to find the point in this video where the guy talks about it. I think it's right before this. And basically it means that you're gonna have finally again a derp gun at tier 5. But is it going to have a crazy HE damage? I do not think so, and we'll have to wait for it to be implemented in order to know. Now it's a good transition for us to talk about the tier 6, because the tier 6 of the branch is quite similar to what we just talked about. The main difference being that the gun on that thing is going to be huge because it's a 102mm. So we are going to keep going with the little derp guns, at least for the tier 5 and the tier 6 of the branch. And of course it comes to a downside, the downside being that the armor profile of those things are going to be quite poor, minus or major the fact that their mobility is also going to be kind of a struggle. Not as much as the one we're going to talk after, but still not as good as, for example, a Hellcat or something like this. The tier 7 of the branch, called the Contra Caro 1986 or model 1986, is basically a T28 prototype with a better mobility, even if the mobility is still going to be quite poor, because obviously the master in terms of slow mobility are still the American tank destroyers. But basically what you can expect from this one is to have an impressive armor, and at least one that is truly effective, but it comes to a price. The fact that you're equipped with first an autoloader, but also you only have 30 degrees on each side when it comes to the gun handling. On top of that, 10 degrees of gun depression, auto reloader, which means that with a 105mm gun you will have something like 310 alpha damage per shot. We can expect Wargaming to put 2 shells in the magazine or something like that, which means that you're gonna have 620 bursting damage ability. For how long of reload, we do not know yet. Now we are going for the tier 8, which is literally a T28 variant. A T28, I mean the tech tree one we have at tier 8 for the American tech tree, the one that leads to the T123. Those tanks are exactly the same, minus the fact that the Contra Caro mode 67 is going to be a little bit faster and has a better view range, or not view range, but for the gun traverse speed on both sides, you can go to 30 or 45 degrees each side, rather than the one on the T28 that you only have 30 or something like that. So in definitive, this tank, if you're playing the T28 for fun, if you're bizarre, is going to dig a hole for the T28 to be put in, because you're going to put the T28 in the coffin once this thing is implemented. It's also equipped with an autoloader, so the same as the one we have previously, of course with a bigger alpha, probably something like 350 or maybe 380, even 400, we don't know yet, minus the fact that the reload is going to be quite huge compared to the one we saw on the tier 7. So expect this one not to shine too much, just the overall look of it being funny enough to notice it, and that's it. The real challenge, or at least the real excitement, starts at tier 9, and the tier 10 I'm not even talking about it. So the tier 9 is called the Contra Caro 1MK2, and it's basically an upgraded version of the tier 8, which is logical, with a bigger gun plus a bigger armor plus a better mobility. Of course, it comes with one downside, being that you don't have a fully traversable turret, but it's going to be the case on pretty much every single tank of this branch. But at least there is something quite curious to notice about it. This one is equipped with an auto reloader, not auto loader, auto reloader, which means that you are going to be a little bit more flexible than the tier 7 and the tier 8 of the branch, and maybe that you will be able to hold flanks by yourself. On top of that, all tanks of the branch are equipped with 10 degrees of gun depression, making them extremely flexible, plus their extremely rounded turrets, as you can see right there, which will definitely help you in any all-down situations. And now for the last of the branch, the only one I should say, the Contra Caro 3 Minotauro. I'm just gonna put down the subtitles for you to be able to appreciate the design of the thing. And what is really cool about this one is that it features everything you need on a tank for it to be good. You have a great armor, you do have a great mobility, and a great gun. The gun on that thing is quite specific, and I'm going to show you exactly why, because it features those statistics. 5 shells in the magazine, 530 alpha damage per shell, and 24 seconds of reload in total for your whole clip. But 8 seconds of reload between shells. In World of Tanks PC, this one is going to be an Autoloader. In World of Tanks Blitz, it's going to be an auto reloader. What does it tell us about the tank? It tells us 2 things. The first is that the gun on that thing is going to be totally different from what we have in World of Tanks PC, because here you are probably going to have only like 2 shells in the magazine for maybe 490 damage per shot, but in exchange for that, you are going to reload faster, and your reload intra-clip is definitely not going to be 8 seconds, maybe something like 6 seconds, which means that it's probably going to be a variant of the Foch 155 with a better armor minus the mobility, which is quite interesting, knowing that when we take a look at the mighty Foch 155, it's one of the most liked tank destroyer in the game, and for good. This tank is just annihilating everything, and we can probably expect the Minotauro to be the exact same one. So in definitive, we do not have any information yet because those are still in testing. Once I will have access to the statistics, do not worry, you can be sure that I will make a video on it for you to be aware of what awaits for us. And waiting for that, you hear it by yourself. I'm gonna play some World of Tanks Blitz, test out the 9.1 update, and leaving you dreaming about either these tanks are going to be good or bad. And waiting for that, just tell me your opinion in the comments, because I would be quite curious to know what you guys think about this line. Personally, I'm kind of excited, specifically if those tanks are the one designed like the Heavy 405 with a big gun and a lot to be able to bounce. See ya.